This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
War Eagle Auburn fans, and welcome to Tiger Tracks, your source for Auburn, track and field, and cross-country news and discussion. I'm your host, Jessica Loomis, and I'm here with my wonderful husband and co-host, Kyle, to discuss multiple things this week.
It's that glorious time of year where we find it possible to talk not just about indoor, but outdoor track and field in the same exact podcast because they overlap so quickly.
They do, and sometimes there's just not enough to talk about in the championships to only do an episode about that.
But that is changing with this
rapidly
with several people to talk about from indoor. So, maybe next season we're talking about a full final indoor track and field season.
That's
podcast.
true, because this is the most we've ever talked about, having 5 athletes compete in the NCAA Indoor Championships.
And 5 well-deserving candidates to be there.
Absolutely.
Recipients or what would you call them?
Athletes.
Representatives?
Athletes.
Okay, sorry.
So let's start with indoor. Indoor championships, obviously, we led up to this in our last podcast. So we'll start with Maddie Malone, our one female competitor. So Maddie went for the women's weight throw. She finished 8th overall with a toss of 22.45 meters, which earned her 5th All-America honor. And just as a reminder, to get All-American, you have to be in the top 8 athletes. Second team All-American is, places 9 through 16. I've been at work a lot today.
Yeah, you have. Bringing your work home. I see how it is. All right, next one. Dontavius Hill finished 14th overall in his men's high jump competition by clearing 2.15 meters. He earned his second team All-America honors.
Yes, and just as a reminder, I just wanted to put this in there because I don't know what meters are because I'm a dumb American. But that is 7 feet and half an inch that he cleared.
Just like offended every American out there.
No, I said I'm a dumb American. I didn't say y'all are dumb.
Oh, okay. Sure. Alex Spyridonidis was unable to compete.
Yeah, so he qualified for indoor championships, but unfortunately was unable to compete.
Do we know why?
If I knew why, it would be in the notes.
That's what I was just curious.
Why would you ask questions like that?
No, but see, I think I knew this, like I had heard about this, like he had gotten injured or something, or I can't remember exactly what happened, but I feel like I heard. That's obviously not informative at all. So all you did know, he did not compete.
Well, another sad story. Favre-Shea. So I watched the prelims. This is what I love about the championships is they are all over ESPN. It's like the one time track and field. Yeah. So I watched him in the 60-meter dash prelims, and he posted the fastest time out of every athlete. His time was 6.51 seconds, which equals his personal best. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Let me just say this too. You called me or texted me, one of the two, because I was gone during that day.
You were in Auburn, yeah.
And you were like, Kyle, you should have seen this guy run.
This man, in his heat of the prelims, he smoked him. I don't even remember how far the next guy was, but remember, a 60-meter is so short. For him to cross the finish line and not have somebody immediately at the same step as him is really significant, and he absolutely smoked everybody. Unfortunately, in the finals, he was a little bit amped, and he was a late scratch and was unable to compete. He disqualified himself.
So that means that he started to go before
Yep.
He was allowed to go, essentially.
Correct. He jumped the gun, quite literally.
He was so amped, knew this was his race.
Knew he was going to win.
This was his championship.
Yep.
That's got to be the most
frustrating thing. It just hurts my heart. Like, it hurts my heart so much for him because he did so well all season in the prelims and then a late scratch in the finals. And nothing as an athlete hurts your heart more than that.
And you got to think, too, there's probably a lot of pressure on him because you kidding? We knew going in.
The most pressure.
We knew going in he was our best opportunity to have an SEC individual title coming out of this. So I'm sure that was on top of there as well.
And he's still a young athlete, right? He's still got some years that he can do this. Right. Like, this isn't his senior season. This isn't the final time he's going to compete. But
he's a transfer, I believe.
He is.
But I don't know how long he had, roughly.
Well,
off the top of my head.
Kyle, you were just ruining my show.
I'm sorry.
So, he's got another season at least.
Yes. So the last one we have to talk about Kyle Brown, my namesake. Not really my namesake, but I'll claim him because it's Kyle. Kyle Brown placed 5th in the men's weight throw with a new PR of 22.44 meters and earned him All-American status.
Yep.
So, a good representation of folks at the indoor championships. Obviously, not enough was done to, or did we have representations to qualify significantly in the team aspect of it? But when we do in some way, just not.
But at least all of our athletes scored points. Those that competed, like Kyle Brown, Dontavius Hill, and Maddie Malone, they all scored.
Exactly.
Well, I'm sorry. Maddie Malone and Kyle Brown scored points.
Yes.
Dontavius Hill and Favor Shea still had wonderful performances, and unfortunately, Alex was injured.
But you should take this as a benchmark of what's going to happen going forward, and I think that should be the expectation. We should be having, this amount of people representing us every year, and that's just, from a fan's perspective. I know coaches know better than us, but I think this is a great. Well, duh, it's a great start in the first year of indoor, SEC competition.
Absolutely
for Coach Leroy Burrell.
So we have a lot of things that are great about outdoor track. Yes. Not just is it outdoor and you're not running on a banked track, but think about all these events that we don't get to see in indoor. We've got discus, we've got javelin, we've got the 400-meter hurdles, which God bless them. We've got the steeplechase. We've got a lot of new events that we don't get to talk about.
I know. So we finally get to talk about not you being frustrated about bank curves and things like that. Personally, I had a hard time with that. I was not a good enough runner to be able to use that to my advantage. So I always felt for the athletes. But so let's talk about the Tiger Track Classic. The first meet for outdoor season. And the only one on campus.
The only one on campus. Our first home meet with our new track and field coach.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was terrible weather when it happened.
It was terrible weather. It's also kind of awkward. You're like, oh, it's our first track meet on campus of the season and the only one. And it's senior day, all the same one. I wish there used to be the War Eagle Invite and the
Tiger Track Classic.
I hope that comes back because I think they need 2 opportunities for people to see
their
athletes
and it
on
could
campus.
Just be that, hey, it's really expensive to host a meet. It's really laborious to host a meet.
What did you just say? A word? What a word you just threw in there.
Labor intensive? Would you rather I said that?
No, I know what that means, but I was just impressed.
Wow, I'm glad I can still impress you after 11 years of marriage.
That doesn't take much.
Okay, so Kyle, tell us about some of these.
We got some highlights to talk about. Mara Hewalt broke her own school record, no shock there, in the women's discus with a throw of 56.34 meters. There's that first event that we haven't got to talk about a whole lot indoor. We got Abisiano Akpan won the women's 400-meter hurdles. Shantae Klinkscale won the women's 100-meter with a PR of 11.42 seconds. Eric Ebel won the men's hammer throw, and Dontavius Hill getting right back up to form, winning the high jump and outdoor. I think I either read or heard him say something like he was disappointed with himself for his indoor, especially at the way it ended. He thought he could do better. Sure. He clearly did better in this one.
Well, that's fair. And, I'm never upset when athletes are disappointed in themselves because anybody who's competed in any sport, I think we always want to do better than we do, right? And I love that. I love that he's got a goal that he wants to achieve, that he's going to keep fighting and continue to, you never want somebody to say, yep, that's the best I can do. I'm done now. Like, you always want them to want more out of the sport.
Yeah. No, obviously you want to keep pushing yourself because, it happens more often than we think that these guys hit a PR, they, break a record, and it's like, well, if that's it, I'm done. There's no other motivation. So you got to continue to push yourself, be motivated, know you can do better, even if you're at the top of your game at that moment.
Absolutely. There's always a higher top, right?
Wow. She was so close to having a great saying there and then just fell off the cliff.
Yeah.
That is the story of your life, to be honest with you.
Wow, sheesh. So let's go to all the results. So we will talk about, since this is the first meet, we will talk about every person that competed from Auburn. So starting with the men's 100-meter dash, we had David Edmondson competing. He placed 17th out of 41 athletes with a time of 11.03 seconds. Mm-hmm. So that's just kind of a mark. The 100-meter dash is usually one that has a lot of athletes. The 100-meter and the 200-meter typically have a lot of competitors. So you can see how big the meet is based on the sprinting event. So 41 competitors kind of tells you this is a pretty good size meet.
But I feel like it's still a little bit smaller than some of the other ones we've seen. Good size, but not as big as we've seen some other ones.
It's not going to be as big as your final outdoor meets, but typically opening season weekend is smaller meets anyway.
And it's such a quick changeover from indoor to outdoor too.
Yeah.
So you got to think some people probably want
And
to
you
rest.
think, and teams just aren't going to travel really far for the first meet usually. They're usually kind of trying to stay close to home, see what their athletes can do. Moving on to the men's 100-meter hurdles, we had Trey Reynolds competing. He placed 7th out of 16 competitors in 14.95 seconds.
The men's 200-meter run, John Stevens, 3rd on the podium out of 39 competitors. 21.66 seconds was his run, followed up with Matthew Rayner, 10th overall out of 39. 22.3 seconds was his run. And then Matthew Kless, 18th out of 39. 22.56 seconds was his run. So we had 2 guys in the top 10 there, and everybody pretty much almost in the top half there. Pretty good, really good overall, actually. Men's 400-meter run, Luke Roberts, 1st overall out of 21 competitors, 48.76 seconds. Davis Plowden, 11th out of 21, 50.87 seconds. And this is a new one for me, so just bear with me. Takis Patakas, I think it's Takis Patakas. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. That is just my good old Southern accent coming out of here. 13th out of 21, 51.51 seconds.
Moving on to the men's 1500, we've got Carson Beddix placing 7th out of 13 competitors with a time of 3 minutes 56.5 seconds. Joseph Perry placing 9th in 3 minutes 57.5 seconds. Benson Atkins placing 11th, 3 minutes 59.6 seconds. And then Reese Bell placing 13th in 4 minutes 11.2 seconds.
Some familiar names there outside of Reese Bell. We haven't talked about him a whole lot, have we?
No.
If at all.
We've talked about him before.
Okay.
But not a lot. So really looking forward to hearing how he does in outdoor. For the men's 5,000 meter, we actually had 2 competitors. Mark Foster placing 3rd out of 14 competitors in 15 minutes 10.2 seconds. And then Trey Hurt placing 10th in 15 minutes 50.7 seconds.
Well, I hurt too, Trey, after looking at 5,000 meters on this board right here.
Jeez,
I had to get one joke in, one bad joke. The men's 4x400, I'm stealing it from Jessica.
I literally was going to talk about
your mouth was opening. I said, nope, I'm taking this one. Luke Roberts, Matthew Rayner, Z. Ross, and John Stevens all on this team.
Now, to be fair, Z. Ross does not go by Z. I just don't know what his first name is. I couldn't find it anywhere. So somebody help me.
I was just going to go with it. That's your team right there. Your team got 2nd place out of 14 teams with a time of 3 minutes 15.5 seconds. Impressive. Representing well at home to get that silver medal as a team. Now let's talk about some throwing events. We got a lot of them. A lot of competitors in this discus throw. It's like everybody's so happy to have discus back now. Like they're just jumping right in.
Discus is so fun to watch. I can't imagine competing in it, but
I feel like I'd be like really aggressive when I throw it too.
I feel like I would injure everybody.
Probably so. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Kyle Moisten leading the way, 4th overall out of 25 competitors, 48.63 meters, followed up by Matthew Ruff, 6th out of 25, 48.27 meters. Ethan Richter, 8th out of 25, 47.32 meters. So those 3 guys right there in the top 10. Now we got Alex Spyridondas, 15th overall, 40.66 meters. John Murray, 20th overall, 38.71 meters. And then Takis Patakas, 25th overall, 25.81 meters.
Moving on to the men's hammer throw. Eric Ebel placing 1st out of 17 competitors with a throw of 66.58 meters. Kyle Moisten placing 2nd, 63.84 meters, and then John Leonard placing 8th in 52.84 meters.
Almost swept the whole podium on the day. Just one short, but great job by both of those guys to represent Auburn well and get the gold and silver medal there.
Absolutely. And then speaking of gold, we had the men's high jump, Dontavius Hill, like we talked about, placing 1st with his jump of 2.15 meters, the same jump that he did at the indoor finals. So or championships. That's awesome. Then we had TJ Funchess placing 4th in 2.05 meters. Matthew Kless placing 6th in 2 meters, and Takis Patakas placing 15th in 1.85 meters.
So really good showing by especially those 3 at the top there, first place, 4th, and 6th. And obviously, not surprised that Dontavius Hill came out as fired up as he was to get off to the outdoor season in such a good start. Javelin's back. You know,
I love javelin.
I love javelin.
I can't say it, but I do love javelin.
Try it one more time.
Javelin.
There you go. That's a good job. Alex Spyridonidis with the bronze medal, 3rd out of 12 with a 48.79 meter throw, followed up by Michael May in 6th overall out of those 12, 46.78 meters. And in the men's long jump, we've got Michael May, who won that 1st overall out of 15, 7.07 meters. David Edmondson, 2nd place overall out of 15, 6.91 meters. And if that wasn't enough for you folks, Takis Patakis, 3rd overall to take the podium, to sweep the podium for Auburn out of those 15 competitors, 6.91 meters. Great job.
Awesome, awesome. Let's round out the men's sections. We have men's pole vault with Matthew Asplin placing 2nd, 5.15 meters. And then for men's shot put, we had Ethan Richter placing 2nd, 16.89 meters. Matthew Ruff placing 4th in 16.55 meters. Grant Griffin in 5th, 16.32 meters. And Kyle Moyson placing 8th with a throw of 15.41 meters.
Let's talk about the ladies now. Women's 100 meter run. Shantae Clinkscale, 1st overall out of 49, 11.42 seconds was her run. Nia Benton-Andrews, 6th overall out of 49, 11.84 seconds. Let's do the 100 meters again, but this time throw hurdles in the mix. The 100 meter hurdle. We got Ashante Harvey, 6th out of 27 competitors, 14.69 seconds. And Esther Diaz, help me, Jessica.
Mbello?
Mbello. That's a good, no.
Mbellolo?
Mbellolo. That's
I messed that one up.
Diza Mbellolo. I'm just going to go with that one. 7th out of 27, 14.77 seconds.
So for the women's 200 meter, Shantae Clinkscale again placing 2nd. So she got a 1st place in the 100, 2nd place in the 200. This girl's killing it with a time of 23.56 seconds. Nia Benton-Andrews placing 4th in 24.44 seconds. Ashante Harvey placing 5th, 24.46. And then Ariana Sharp placing 6th in 24.51 seconds.
Everybody in the top 6 out of 41 competitors.
41, and they're all in top 6.
We're all just representing well.
Absolutely.
Really good start to the outdoor season for everybody.
For the women's 400 meter, we had Amira Sharp placing 2nd out of 28 competitors with a time of 54.3 seconds, and Ariel Sharp placing 13th in 58.71 seconds.
We're going to get used to talking about the Sharp sisters a lot this season. We did an outdoor season, or indoor season. Now we got to get used to it now.
Exactly.
Season. Too many indoors, outdoors, everywhere. Women's 400 meter hurdles, Abasiano Akpan, 1st overall out of 9 competitors, 59.86 seconds. Layla Hasbrook, 4th out of those 9 competitors, 63.61 seconds. And the women's 800 meter, we got Presley Miles, 9th overall of 22, 2 minutes, 27.4 seconds.
For the women's 1500 meter, we have Olivia Lazaro placing 5th out of 15 competitors with a time of 4 minutes, 56.2 seconds. Then we had 3 other athletes compete in the women's 1500 meter invite. So Hannah Tarwater placed 3rd out of 11 competitors with a time of 4 minutes, 34.6 seconds. Hannah Thuss placing 6th out of 11, 4 minutes, 38.6 seconds. And then Haley Marston placing 9th, 4 minutes, 39.8 seconds. Are you about to point out the same thing I am?
Go ahead if you're about
that all of our athletes finished within 5 seconds of each other, which means that 9 athletes finished within 5 seconds of each other in the 1500 meter.
That's really close.
That's very, very close. And especially like Hannah Thuss, our second Hannah, and Haley, yes, finishing within 1.2 seconds of each other. But there were also 2 other athletes between them. Like, that is insane.
It is very insane. Now, talk about this next one because you actually get to talk about a relay now.
Thank you.
So
the women's 4x400 meter. The greatest event of all time. The most fun.
That's up for debate.
It is up for debate. But this is my podcast, so it's my opinion that matters.
Sure.
So, the women's 4x4, we had Ariana Sharp, Amira Sharp, Ashante Harvey, and Ariel Sharp.
Wait, there's another Sharp?
Yes.
My
we have
goodness.
all 3 of them.
Good night.
And do you know that the 3 Sharps and Miss Harvey got 1st place out of 11 teams with a time of 3 minutes, 41.4 seconds.
So this should make you really happy, because the
I'm
ladies...
a little bit tearing up about it.
Got the 1st. I don't know why you're tearing up. The 2nd place by the boys, too, in their relay. This was a great relay day. I could imagine Even with the weather, how exciting it was to be out there for both those.
I am just so excited for this season. And spoiler alert, their next meet that they went to was a relay meet. So I cannot wait to talk about
It's
it.
in the names now. It's just like Jessica's walking on air right
Jessica is a big fan of watching relays. Not so much was a big fan of doing them because I always was afraid I was going to be the slowest leg, but...
Which is probably true.
No, it wasn't!
All right, now we've talked about a lot of the running events. Let's get into the throws and jumps. We'll start with some throws. Women's discus, Mara Hewalt got that first place we already talked about in the highlights portion of our show, 56.34 meters. Megan Haig, 4th overall at a 14:43.26 meter throw. Trinity Love, 5th overall, 42.08 meters. And then the hammer throw, just throwing things left and right. Mara Hewalt got 3rd overall out of 18 competitors, 57.15 meters. Danielle Gregory got 4th, 56.50 meters. Mackenzie Patton, 14th. 36.14 meters, and Louisa Bonner, 15th overall, 35.60 meters.
Awesome. For the women's high jump, we had Kamaya Dindy placing 3rd out of 13 competitors with a jump of 1.65 meters, and then Allison Tanner placing 7th with a jump of 1.60 meters. For the women's javelin, Shania Hawley placing 1st
Boom.
out of 12 competitors with a throw of 44.96 meters. And then Maddie Roberts placing 2nd with a throw of 40.99 meters.
Double boom.
And Catherine Ratliff placing 5th with a throw of 38.22 meters.
And a triple boom for everybody in the top half of the field.
Love it.
The women's long jump, Janiah Jones, 1st. We talked about that a lot.
Boom.
Boom. Can't do that every single time.
Okay.
1st overall out of 18, 6.08 meters. We also had several others competing here. Shantoba Bright, 3rd, 5.82 meters. Amy Warren, 4th, 5.81 meters. And then Megan Loneman, 12th, 5.31 meters. Women's pole vault, we got Alyssa Quiones-Mixon, 2nd overall out of 10, 3.95 meters. Rhiannon Held, 3rd overall, 3.85 meters. And Lexi Lane Weber, 4th overall, 3.70 meters.
For the women's shot put, we had Mara Hewalt placing 1st, like we talked about, out of 18 competitors, 16.39 meter throw. Louisa Bonner placing 4th with a throw of 14.95 meters. Megan Haig in 5th, 14.65 meters. And finally, Trinity Love placing 6th, 13.72 meters.
It's poetic justice that you have to do this one last because it's your probably least favorite one to think about doing. No, you hate the super long distances, but the triple.
Oh God, yeah.
But the triple jump is just hard.
The triple jump is just no. I love watching it. I just cannot comprehend how these athletes can move their bodies.
That's what I meant.
You know what I mean?
It's just like confounding to you.
It is. That is a true athletic feat. Haha, because you use your feet. Women's triple jump.
That was worse than the one I did earlier.
Well, I like dad jokes. Women's triple jump. Amy Warren placing 1st out of 8 competitors with a jump of 12.69 meters.
So from the layman's standpoint, a couple takeaways here. Obviously, it's the first outdoor meet, so we're not going to have a lot of... next meet, we'll have a lot to compare to and kind of see who has and hasn't competed and how they're doing compared to that, all that kind of stuff. My sense is while this was probably a decent size meet, this probably wasn't I won't say the stiffest competition out there.
Correct,
That's usually
correct.
the case in your first meet of a particular season. You're kind of getting your feet wet, so to speak.
Right.
Literally that day, since it was raining. That was a good joke without being a good joke. So obviously a lot of that's at play when you hear a lot of these first and second and thirds and all that kind of stuff. So when we start getting into the meat of the schedule is when we're going to really kind of figure out where this team stands.
Yes. So next meet is going to be March 23rd and 24th. Auburn will go to Tallahassee, Florida for the Florida State Relay.
That's going to be some great weather down there in Florida this time.
We hope.
Yes. And it's got relays, so you should be.
Exactly. So we look forward to talking about that. War Eagle.
War Eagle. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.